All right, hi, good people. It's Dr. V here. I am on a little earlier than I have been coming on because I have been up since 3 a.m. doing some things. I'm not saying like, oh, look at me, I get up early. I do, but not at 3 a.m. But I was like, I'm up. I went to bed early. Let's just go ahead and be productive. I posted on my threads and I said, like, hi, if you're joining, you can put your name in the chat. I can't see the chat. I don't know why. Like, I know some people, we talking to their people in chat. I can't see anybody. So you can say hi or uh, if you came in and wanted to see what I was talking about real quick, or you can leave, it's okay. I usually do this later in the evening, and then I also would record on Instagram. But I was like, let me just go ahead and do one and just tell everybody they can at least catch the replay if they're not up. I remember when teaching classes for the university, I hated teaching evening class. So I was like, why did I set myself up for this? So I'll probably be shifting earlier in the daytime and just see how that goes. Like I did, I think about 2 weeks in the evening, and now I'm about to like do like morning, afternoon, and treat all of this like it's a real college course. And at the time of this recording, it's Friday. And I remember I didn't like teaching on Fridays either. And if I did, it had to be early. So I'm like, what was I thinking? All right, so I've been doing these mini life classes, one, so you can get to know more about me and what I do, two, just sharing some things as it relates to the personal development industry and then how to make it practical for your everyday lives. If you're new to me, I'm Dr. V, and I've been saying that I am a former college professor turned life professor ish, and I am a brilliant, I call myself the brilliant solutionist. Not saying that I have all the answers, but I attract brilliant people and I help brilliant people be their own solutions. And I am also a certified and credentialed life changer. Some people like to say life coach, but people think sometimes life coach is too woo woo. And that's a part of the title, is the word empowerment too woo woo. And I've heard someone say that the phrase is being overused a lot. And I was like, that's part of the title, the part of the part of the title of my book, Embracing Grit for Greatness, becoming professionally powerful through personal empowerment. And I wrote that in 2020 when I was on the tail end of being a college professor, and I that's when I was really, starting really getting into my personal development journey. I started because I wanted to be like more powerful speaker on stage, a more powerful presenter, and then moving into the keynote space, which is very different than speaking and presenting. Being a keynote is very different. And then I realized through that journey of wanting to be a better speaker, there are some things that I had suppressed, didn't know about, ignored in my own personal life that hindered me from pursuing that wholeheartedly and not really showing up in my professional life. And so when I started working on myself, I started doing more professionally. And then that led me into, well, the Lord led me into being the entrepreneur, but my heart still focuses on people who are still in the professional space, because I don't believe everyone should be entrepreneurs. I don't. It's not something that's like, whoa, go do that. And it still amazes me that you can get a degree in entrepreneurship, because what I know now about entrepreneurship, that's not how it goes. There's some great things to learn about it, but it's really an internal gain. But I do believe everyone should be parallelpreneurs, meaning that you can still have a full purposeful career and still have additional streams of income. I believe everyone should have that, but to just jump ship and say, oh, I want to work for myself, that may not be the vibe. So I like to focus on people who are still in their careers, but either want to go up higher in their career and max out their genius there. And then if they want to venture into something else, helping them to reassess, realign, reinvent, and realize who they be. I mean, I say that like it's catchy, but it's true. All those different steps are true. And then they can explore multiple areas of themselves what also, as it relates to empowerment, and I'll give you the definition in a minute, is I also work with people to see themselves beyond their positions, titles, and degrees because I had to go through that. One moment I didn't want to call myself doctor. I was like ashamed or afraid to say it because of the backlash I received. And then on the other hand, when I got comfortable with it, doctor was my identity. So it was like I went to two extremes and I had to learn how to blend the two together and see who I was in my life in different areas of my life. And throughout this journey of me researching and case studying and working with clients, there are between 5 to 15 areas. As of now, if you want to focus on them, you don't have to go to all 15, starting at a good five, which I do talk about. I keep pointing back here. Let me just go ahead and get it, which I do talk about in my book. And you can get my book. The link is down in the description below. This book is not just about, my story, and I'll show you the power pentagon. I didn't come up with these 5 areas, but because my background is math, I wanted to catch your name. So the 5 areas of your life power pentagon, and they are health, wellness, spirituality, relationships, finances, career, business, and at the bottom I put you because you are in the middle. What I found was we tend to focus on personal life and professional life. But then it's like we know professional life, we know what that looks like, but our personal life, like what is that? Maybe we extend to like family and friends, and then maybe we tap on like a hobby, which is our creativity, but there are more to us than those buckets. And so I wanted to get into talking about empowerment. And if you see me looking off, that's because I have notes on my computer. So the general definition of empowerment is authority or power given to someone to do something, or the process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's rights. So I know it's like, self empowerment or women empowerment. I can see how people think the phrase has been watered down and used too much. But when you think about that definition, it's really about being able to take control of your life, making your own decisions, and being confident in who you are so you can move forward. So when I heard that someone was like, oh my gosh, empowerment, they did an eye roll. And then other people were like, yeah, it's just so overused. I did get a little discouraged and I was like, but I like that word. But then I realized, like, just like when I would teach math and people hated math, it was my job to redefine that and create a new experience with that word. So that is what I am going to do today. This class will be lighter because I'm going to talk to you about my empowerment assessment that I came up with and created. Nothing too deep. This is not if you go take one of those strength finders assessments and it's going to be all deep, but this is just something to get you started. I realize in the personal development space sometimes we can go too deep too soon, and we get so caught up in working on ourselves and learning so much that we don't apply it. So I did a quick assessment. You can just put your email address in and get it, take it, and then you'll be able to calculate your scores and just give you a baseline. So it's not like, an Enneagram or DISC assessment. It's not that deep, but it is enough and it touches on different areas for you to start have a you are here, a foundational sense of where you are. That's what I had to learn. And when I really started focusing on personal development, is I went, let me see, what am I trying to say? I believe, and it served me well that, all things work out for the good. But I can see where I jumped into the deep end instead of really taking my time, going deep in the work, and then applying it, and then coming back to see where I was. I would learn, apply something real quick, and then keep it moving. And it wasn't until I stopped, paused, let it sink in, started tracking myself, just like if I was, going to college to get my degree. Okay, I know this is the class I need to take. These are the assignments I need to take. When you're in your major, the courses build upon each other. There are prereqs and things like that. Well, personal development and self personal mastery and self help is the same way. You learn something, you apply it, but then you still need to go back and track that area, rate that area, and look at that area. It's real. I gave the example of going to college. I should say research more. I connected more to research when I was getting my PhD, and we had to do our dissertation, which is a, a study and research. So you come up with something, a question or a problem you want to solve, then you collect all the data, you analyze the data, but then you have to keep going back to the data to see if the problem or to see if the problem is still there or if you're able to answer the question. It's not a one and done. Even my dissertation right now that has been finished, I can still go back to it, pick up where I left off, and still take a deeper dive into the study that I did because there is never a one and done. So when we think about ourselves, when we think about ourselves as our own university and the different areas of our lives are the different courses, and they all come together to be the degree of me, the degree of me, then you go look at an area and you write out some objectives and things that you want to focus on, but then and you rate yourself, but then you go back after you meet with a coach or a consultant or a strategist and say, these are the areas I want to focus on. Okay, come do this work. Do this work for a period of time. Come back to those areas. And that's really a good coach. A great coach will empower you to do that instead of fully relying on them. So, like, I could have a 90-day contract, a 30-day contract. We can have one session together and you still get powerful results, or we get a 1 year together. If you're working with me for a year, that doesn't mean that it takes you a year to focus on one thing or we're only talking about this one thing. There should be a progression, a trajectory, an evolution, right? So, yeah, some people have had the same coaches for like 10 years, and that's fine as long as they're moving in different areas of your life. Some people may go to a coach and it's like, I just need a VIP day. Show me one day where I need to unlock and unblock and upload and do all the things I need to do so I can move forward. They've cleared the space, they have their plans in place, and then they can be good for the next 6 months, right? And maybe they just do a check in for accountability to make sure, like, hey, I'm still on track. And then if they need some deeper dive work, then they can touch it back, they can get back in touch with them. But I said all that to say is like your coach should empower you to take control of your own life, not just tell you what to do. Find out what's behind why you're not doing what you said you want to do, be able to give you the tools and strategies, but empower you to own the tools and strategies so you can use them. Another example or a deeper dive into what empowerment is, I found this on, I don't know how to pronounce that word, but it talked about clarity. And this is in the place of employees. So, talking about clarity, giving them goals and expectations, but you can do that for yourself. Support, supporting others by providing the resources that they need to move to remove any obstacles or overcome them, and autonomy. Empowering people means giving them the autonomy they need to do their work, the space, the freedom, and the control. When I was teaching in K-12, one big thing was teacher autonomy. And I don't think people really understood what that meant. And so when a teacher was doing their thing, then the people who would come in from the district or the state would criticize the teacher. And I was like, yeah, y'all clearly don't know what teacher autonomy is. If the teacher is within the guidelines of the standards and they have the clear objectives and they got the kids meeting those, whatever they're doing in the class, it doesn't have to necessarily fit a certain model. That's what autonomy is. When I became a college professor, sometimes it'd be like too much autonomy. Like you can literally do whatever you want to do as long as you don't harm the students in the class. So part of being empowered is having the autonomy to make your own decisions and to use wisdom and discernment and move forward. So in the I call it the empowerment navigator. I was like, I know that's a corny name, but it was like I want you to get on track to empower yourself. So if you're like still like I don't really know what this is, I'm starting from scratch. I hear it, but I want like a focal point. I created this assessment so you could have a focal point, and I'll just read through the different areas. I think I have about 15 questions on there. Let me see. It's like 15 questions after we get through some demographics, and it's not too deep. It just ask about your gender and your age range because I'm a researcher at heart, so I do collect information, but not like that. So let me go ahead and clarify, because some people are like, everybody's stealing my data. No, as a researcher, I don't like, you'll put your name and email there, but I don't see it like as it relates to your, it's not like I can pinpoint you. But I do like to see, like, well, who's downloading it? Number one, what demographic or age are people downloading it, and where do they fit and see themselves? And that's what a good researcher does, and then that'll help me become a better coach. Even if you don't decide to work with me, your information and your results allow me to work with someone who may be similar. So don't get freaked out if you see, if, like, for your information. All right, so one area I talk about that is really big in empowerment is self-awareness. That, and you will say, and I ask you some questions about it, and then you get to decide whether you strongly agree or strongly disagree. So within those, you have to answer three questions. So it says, I am clear about my self awareness. I'm aware about myself, or I don't know what any self awareness is. I don't even know. Like, what are you talking about? The next area we talk about self confidence. So I think self awareness is important, and some people like use these terms interchangeably, but they're different. When you think about self awareness, is exactly what it sounds like. Are you aware of yourself? Are you aware of your thoughts? Are you aware of your actions? Are you aware of how you treat people? Are you aware of how people perceive you? Because you could think that you're coming off one way, and a lot of people are like, mm that is not the vibe. Or, so a personal example, people used to, like, back in the day, people used to be like, oh, you're so stuck up, or you're so arrogant, and things like that. I didn't consider myself stuck up or arrogant. However, I knew why they said that. I was aware of how I would come across. Now, I didn't believe it was arrogant or stuck up, but I could understand what people were saying. I was fully aware of that, versus if someone said that and I'm like wholeheartedly denying it, and it was like, do you not know what you say to people or not say to people, or how you walk around? Like, I know I had RBF and things on my face back then. So that's part of being self-aware, and also knowing, if you're placed in a certain situation, are you going to react a certain way? If you know you're going to react a certain way, don't put yourself in that situation. People are like, "Oh, I was triggered." Well, for to be triggered in one time is cool, but if you keep being triggered, it's like, when do you take back your own trigger and to stop being the trigger? All right, so that's self-awareness. Self-confidence is being confident, like, in your skill set, and knowing that you're able to do what you want to do. Confidence in who you are as a person, how you show up. You know, you're not swayed by every look or every whisper or every comment someone says. So I'm not going to go too deep into this because I don't know if it's on the assessment, but there's a difference between self confidence and being certain in yourself. But self confidence is really about a skill set, not really so much about who you are, but are you able to be confident in, like, your work, your presentation, how you come across, the way you speak, and things like that? So you get to answer those questions. I do have autonomy on here, and I gave you a definition or an example of autonomy. So you would answer three questions on there. So it's 15 big questions, and then each of them have like a sub question. So it's like 45 total, but they go very quickly, and it's on the Likert scale, numbers 1 through 5 that you answer. And don't put a three everywhere. Like, pick a side. I probably should have just made this an even number, so you had to pick a side. But some of them you can be in the middle, but let's not do threes all the way down, okay? Take some time and be honest with yourself, because it's for you. Self-determination, I wrote that in my book a little bit as part of grit. And this is all about being empowered and understanding what empowerment is. Are you What is your level of determination? A lot of people like to say, "Well, I'm very determined." But if you look at some of your goals in different areas of your life, and you're not where you want to be in certain cases, and let's say you've had that goal for a while, it's like, are you really determined to meet it? And that's where you have to be honest with yourself. You can't move forward with being empowered, getting clarity, having autonomy, and having support if you're not honest. If you're like, I really do lack self determination, then that's an area you can start working on for yourself and then getting connected with a coach or a strategist to help you in that area. The next question is initiative, and that's part of being empowered. Do you take initiative? Do you actively seek ways to, make something happen? And it's okay if you lack initiative, but then you have to see how does that show up in the different areas of your life, whether it's in finances, whether it's in relationships, whether it is in your career. If you lack initiative but then you want to move up in a different position, those two could be related. And if you didn't know that, this is the perfect time for you to pause, reflect, and be honest with yourself. The next one is resilience. People like to say resilience is the bounce back muscle. I've heard it that way. People talk about, oh, it's your get up muscle. And that's true. But a deeper version of resilience is your character and your attitude. What is that like on your way to getting up? So you can get up and still be bitter, be pissed off, be angry. Like you can still keep moving forward, but have a sucky attitude. So being resilient is more than just bouncing back, it's how you're bouncing back, and be honest with yourself. So if you had a relationship and it didn't work out so well and it devastated you, and you have a choice whether you're going to be bitter, angry, like all men, women, other are horrible, I hate everybody, and you can move through life, but what is the quality of life after you got back up? Like if you're gonna stay bitter, angry, and depressed, well, you might as well just wallow in whatever you were instead of moving forward and having a better outlook on life. So let me know if that resonates with you. If you're just joining me, hi, I'm Dr. Brilliance Glenn White. I go by Dr. V. I am a college professor turned life professor ish, the Brilliant Solutionist, and certified and credentialed life changer. I help high achievers, brilliant people, entrepreneurs, people who resonate, like who connect with me and who want to do more in life, who inspire me and who are smarter than I am. I help them to reassess, realign, reinvent, and realize who they be at their core so that they can continue or become the CEO of themselves, or I like to say the CEO of YOU, the Chief Expansion Officer of your own universe. And I believe that everyone is their own solution and the solution for someone else. And I believe that we can do that and be the solution through education, transformation, and practical application, such as talking about empowerment. So, moving on to the next area is personal excellence. In the church space, we like to say the spirit of excellence, which that's we use it out of context. And after I studied a little bit, I was like, yeah, I've definitely used it out of context. But personal excellence, and in my book, I talk about I would change the area, but I called it excellence over, what did I say? Perfection. I said excellence versus perfection, but going back, I would change it to excellence versus perfectionism, because I do believe in perfection. Like perfection literally means to get things done. It's interesting how when people say I have a problem, I'm such a perfectionist, that it gets it's a negative connotation to that, but it's like, do you always get things done? Is when you get caught up in perfectionism where it's stopping you from really moving forward is the problem. Because in sports, when people say, oh, you had a perfect season, no one says anything. That means they won every game and they did the doggone thing. Not that every game was, you know, no mistakes or anything like that, but they completed the task. They won every game. So, but anyway, but I would have changed it to excellence versus perfectionism. When I talk about excellence, that means you've given your best, you've shown up, you showed out, and you move forward. If if there's a typo on something and you did not see it and somebody else did, but you still put it out there, but you did, like, you reviewed it, but sometimes our eyes plays tricks on us, and we may not have someone right then and there to overlook it, but you presented it well and you did the doggone thing, then cool, you did it. But if you keep obsessing over and making sure that you try to find every single typo, or making sure that every line is lined up, or whatever the case, and it's causing you not to do what you are supposed to do. Oh, I forgot to share this. All right, they can come back. Or you forgot to do what you were supposed to do. Well, excuse me. If you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and it's causing a delay, then that means you're hung up in presentation for work. You don't just throw something together and you present it with your best self, and boom, there it is. So if you are struggling with that, when you take the empowerment navigator, the assessment, then it helps you with those three questions to see where you are in that area. So moving on to number 8, personal fulfillment. I do work with a lot of people who are successful, but they still are unfulfilled. And they're unfulfilled because they haven't unpacked multiple areas of their lives. They're like, my career is going great, or my business is doing well. I have friends and family who love and support me, but there's still something missing. That's because there's more to you than just your career or your business and your family and friends. We have to unpack that and allow you to explore those different areas and where you can up level. As I said earlier, there are between 5 and 15 areas of your life that you can explore. And if you're not touching all of those areas, then of course you're going to feel unfulfilled. So having working with a coach doesn't mean that something's wrong with you or that you are dissatisfied with your life. It does mean like there's something more. I'm doing great over here, but where else can I up level? Because if you're still living and breathing, there's still more for you to do. There's still more for you to pour out, but maybe you don't know what it is, and that could lead to a sense of being of unfam- lead to a sense of unfulfillment. Decision making, that's number 9 on the Empowerment Navigator assessment. How well do you make decisions? How fast do you make decisions? You will answer 3 questions there and be honest with yourself. It's your survey. Like, don't fake the funk, because you're not going to get supported, or you're not going to have the right information, whether you choose to come work with me or with someone else. You need to have a baseline. So, being able to make a decision quickly in business, there's a need for speed in business. And in a lot of cases, that's true. The quicker you can make a decision, the quicker either you're going to fail and get feedback, or it's going to turn out right and you do the next step and you can move, you're still moving. But if it's, and I'm not saying be impulsive. So it's like if you're wanting to go buy a house and then it's like, oh yeah, just get that one. No, you do take time and look at what you want, weigh out the pros and cons of location, type of house, or whatever. That takes longer to decide. But it may not take a full year to make a decision on a house. It could take a few months. I mean, you know yourself, but you know if you're dragging out a decision or if you're being indecisive versus let me go ahead and make this decision. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So you do your due diligence, but then you still keep it moving and make a decision. But you have to see, where am I on that spectrum? Do I make decisions very quickly, or do I drag them out, or am I somewhere like in the middle? And that helps with being empowered because you are taking control over your life. So you may, and do this in general because I didn't break it down for each category. So you may make quick decisions in your career, but you may be indecisive about your finances or your health and wellness. So you see how all of that plays together. All right, the next area, number 10, is mindset. And it's really the thoughts that you're thinking. How in tuned are you with what's going on in your mind? Whether you're focusing on limiting beliefs, or I like to say outdated beliefs, things that are keeping you stuck. So, or if you're trying to make a transition in life, what beliefs are you still holding on to? I'll give you an example. Transitioning from employee to entrepreneur, different mindset. Because as an employer, I mean employee to entrepreneur. Yes, I ain't going to be an employer, go me. But when you're an employee, everything's laid out for you. You almost take for granted. Well, I took for granted how structured things were. Even though I had autonomy to do what I want to do, but my class was the people I was going to teach, they were going to be there no matter what. The university did the marketing because it's like come to the university. They did all the things that they were supposed to do. I was going to get paid no matter what, so I didn't have to worry about, are the clients going to pay or not, whether the students dropped out or whatever. I still got paid. I didn't have to go search for health benefits and things like that because it was already taken care of. I didn't have to worry about any taxes, quarterly, semi quarterly, whatever it is, like in entrepreneur land, because it was already done for me. I didn't have to worry about saving up for retirement or things like that because things were already allocated and put in place. What else? uh, a schedule. I mean, even though this was a fixed schedule, like I knew they told me how I was going to show, what times my classes were going to be, or I could suggest to them, but then it was put in stone. It was going to always be that way for the semester, but not in entrepreneur land. All of that is on you. And even if you have a team, if it's your company, you are still leading and directing that. So it's still all on you. It's a different mind shift. And you have to say, like, well, what kind of mindset do I have? Is it fixed? Is it a growth mindset? Am I open? Am I ready? So just be able to now to identify where you are in that area so you can start understanding how much more empowered you need to become. All right, moving right along, self compassion. I don't think a lot of us have self compassion for ourselves. We have compassion for other people, but how, and people like to, I said this like way back somewhere. I don't know where I said it. When people are like, oh, I'm just so hard on myself, like that's a badge of honor. That is horrible. So you're saying, like, oh, I'm so hard on myself. Don't say that because that's, if you're saying like, oh my gosh, I'm so hard on myself, and then people treat you any kind of way, then you can't get mad at the people because you're showing them how to treat yourself. So do you love yourself? Do you take care of yourself? Do you put yourself first? I did a training in a private group and I may do a version of that outside of it. But I was like, there's nothing wrong with being self-centered. I said it. You can be self-centered. I didn't say selfish because that's different. But being self-centered, focusing on you and what you need so that you're able to be who and what you need for other people. But you can't squeeze blood from a turnip. That's what my grandmother says. You can't pour from an empty cup. And then I don't even like to say, fill your cup up. Like, no, your cup needs to overflow. Like your cup needs to always remain full and people get the leftovers. It sounds bad, but that way you don't fall into being resentful and bitter and all of that. So learning how to have self-compassion is major when we talk about empowerment, and you'll answer those three questions and see where you land. Number 12 is talking about purpose and meaning. I'm not going to go too deep into that because, purpose and meaning, people have different views on that. You can say purpose, assignment, calling. What are you supposed to do in this season? In this season, answer those questions. This is not like a purpose driven life thing. It's only like three sub questions, but it'll give you a sense of where you are in that area. Number 13 is goal setting. And I don't mean just making your vision board in January. I mean literally like breaking down goal setting. When I work with my clients, we go through a deep dive goal setting process because it's more than just pulling it out of thin air or saying, oh, that would be nice. Like we break it all the way down. And have you done that? At the time of this video, this live, we're in Q3, halfway through the year, and you still do have time to achieve your goals, but maybe you need to take a different approach. And in the Empowerment Navigator, there are three different questions you can ask yourself to see where you need to focus more about goal setting, empowering yourself to make real goals. Daily habits. Do you have daily habits, routines, and rituals? How is that set up? Do you have that? And what does that have to do with empowerment? That helps you to see where you need more support. That helps you to gain more clarity in different areas. And then it helps you to prioritize your day, your week, certain areas of your life. So if you have those habits and things in place, they're like bumper rails. They give you boundaries and you get to determine where you are in that area. And the last one, self-reflection. How often do you reflect? There is someone here on YouTube. I know her. You can go to Dr. Kelly Austin, and she's on YouTube, and she has this Right With Me. I think it's called Wired. Don't quote me, but she talks about self-reflection and she has a whole journal about that. And we were both educators and we joke about like how much self-reflection we had to do in our profession, how much self-reflection we made our students do. But then like as we got out of that, like do we really continue to self-reflect? I mean, like put it on paper. And that's what I told her. I was like, I self-reflect. I look back over and I'm like, okay, but then I need to be more intentional and more disciplined into writing out my self reflection so I can actually go back and track and look at my growth and things like that in that area. So, all of that is there. You will tally up your score, and then it'll put you into three buckets. It'll put you into three buckets when you add up your score, and that'll give you a foundation of where you are. And then at the end of that, as long as space is still open in my calendar, it says that you can connect with me through like a 20-minute call to just see where, just discuss your results if you want to. It's not like it's a coaching call, but it's like, hey, some clarity on that, or maybe what's my next step, or you could ask me, well, what ways can I work with you, but it is available to you as long as my calendar is open. So it's one of those, for me to continue to ask questions or just to get some information about you, and just think of it as research purposes. No one's trying to sell you anything. Although, if I hear that you need support, I may let you know that support is available. But please don't feel pressured. If you get on any of these calls, this is a tangent. If you get on any consultation calls or book me calls or discovery calls, and the person is making you feel pressured to sign up with them or buy, don't do that, because we don't want you. I know I don't want you to feel like I pressure you to do something. Then you pay me, and then your attitude is horrible. You resent me a little bit, and then you just stop showing up, or you don't pay. Or you paid me and stop showing up. That doesn't feel good either. And you're like, at least you got your money. That doesn't feel good. I wouldn't like that. So don't feel pressured. You're just getting information, and you could be the way you show up, and you could say something to the coach that you're talking to during your discovery session. If you choose not to work with them, they may be able to use some sort of information to help them be better for the next person. So you never know how it goes. So if you feel empowered or led to book a call, not just with me, but with any coach, just go ahead and do that. And you never know what happened. But you're free to book a call with me if you want to. I am doing. I will. The link for the Empowerment Navigator is down below for you to go ahead and take that assessment, and you can put your name and your email in there, and it'll get emailed to you, or you should be able to see it once you open up your email, or you'll be able to click the link so you can go ahead and do it. It shouldn't take you that long to do it. It's 15 questions buckets and 3 sub questions underneath, but they're very quick. And I'm doing, so what's this, July, August at the time of this recording or this live video. And if you're watching on the replay, if you're still in that window, I am doing what I call a Renovate Me intensive special. And I called it Renovate Me because I've been in this process of getting some work done on my house. And I said, sometimes we do need to, some things may look all right until you get underneath the surface and you find out that you need to give some attention to it, you need to do some work to it. Even if you have a plan, it may not, your plan may not be planning right now, and you may need someone to look at it or have a different perspective or readjust your plan. And then the other part to it is like if you just want to just start from scratch, but you don't want to do it alone, that is what I'm here for. The intensive is it's a 90-minute session, but there's pre-work and post-work. So when you look at the investment, you're like, just this for 90 minutes, don't look at that. We look at the entire experience where, like I said, there are some things you need to do beforehand, a different type of assessment. If you've taken this assessment, we can add that to there so I can get an understanding of who you are and where you are. Then we come together and come up with a plan and put a plan in place or readjust your plan and see what is happening to why you're not moving forward. And then there will be some work and some touch points after that. So I want you to look at the Renovate Me Intensive as an experience. And so I do say 90 minutes. Some of them have gone longer, but I try to stick to the parameters of the 90 minutes. You can look into that if you are interested, or if you're like, I need a deeper dive, that it'll lead you into some different areas. But that's all I wanted to share with you today. Is one, I really want you to just click on the Empowerment Navigator and just get a you are here, a starting point to becoming your most empowered self, giving yourself permission to be who you want to be, and then give everybody else notice. But you're waiting on permission from everyone else because you don't feel empowered to do so. So do that. And if you're like, yes, I love it, I want to move forward, I don't want another week, month, quarter to go by without me making progress, go ahead and book the intensive. Well, you can book a call with me. It's like, well, I still have some questions. Go ahead and book a call with me and we can clarify that if if you don't get all the information that's on my link tree and it goes to Dr. Renita Glenn hyphen white slash intensive and put that in the chat if you want to do that. The link for the Empowerment Navigator, that assessment is in the description, and then I'm putting the link in the chat. So for an intensive, you can book a call and say, I see that, I still have some questions, what is it? And then we can go from there. If you want to have a conversation, or if you're like, nope, I know I want to do it, and then just make sure you schedule your date. So if you book it and you pay for it, you still have to go schedule your date and let me know and see what's available. And then so that way I can tell you, all right, if you want to do it here, this is the work I need from you and things like that. All right, so let me know your thoughts. Let me know which area you want to take a deeper dive into. Let me know which area stood out to you. And let me know if you still have questions about being empowered and how to be your most empowered self. All right. So thank you so much for listening and learning with me, and I will see you next time. Bye.